All right, so welcome to the second episode of Soccer Pill, and as promised, we're back a week later, and today we're going to discuss about some of the interesting statistics which we've actually gathered from past few seasons' performances, mainly the couple of interesting seasons. One where we had Premiership, which was won with the highest points under Mourinho when Chelsea won, I think in 2004-2005 with 95 points, which is still a record. And the other being when Chelsea scored actually 103 goals under Carlo Ancelotti in their third title-winning season. And I think I still remember that season Chelsea actually managed to score 7 or more league goals in 4 of the league games. So these are just some of the stats which are top of my mind, and we're going to discuss more in terms of what does it take in terms of statistics, goals, where do the points come from, based on our analysis, which we've done, as I said, over the past few seasons.
So, I've been trying to do some research and figuring out how does United score the way they score.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems there are 3 important factors that determine whether United is going to score or not.
Okay.
Two of them are directly proportional, and one is inversely proportional.
Uh-huh.
So the first stat is obviously shots on target.
Okay.
The more United have shots on target, the more likely they are to score.
Correct.
Okay. So incidentally, shots on target and the other 2 factors, they create 80% of the goals for United. The remaining 20% coming from other characteristics like set pieces and own goals.
Okay.
So out of this 80% of the goals that United score, a vast majority come from shots on target. So the more shots on target, the more they're going to score per game. And on the other hand, the lesser shots they take, the lesser they're going to score. So they have this ability to convert a lot of shots on target into goals. That's one.
Okay.
Number 2 point that is directly correlated is accurate passing within their own halves. So United has the ability to turn defense into attack. That's how they traditionally do. They counter-attack. And to effectively counter-attack, they need to pass accurately within their own half. So when somebody like a Rafael or a Evra gets the ball, passes on to Carrick on to Kagawa on to Van Persie on to score. I mean, that's the logic. That's how they work. And this is a system that has worked right across Eric Cantona's days, Roy Keane's days, to when Ruud van Nistelrooy used to play for United, and to when Van Persie is scoring for United. So these 2 correlations, shots on target and accurate passing in their own half, are positively correlated to United goals. But the third factor is a big surprise to me. So the number of crosses are inversely proportional to United goals. So when they cross more often, they score less. I didn't know this. So
And
go ahead.
And that's actually a very surprising point, because I think United have traditionally always played with in a 4-4-2 with wingers, where a winger's primary job is to kind of cross the ball and allow the striker to kind of head it in. And you can go back to David Beckham days, or even when Ronaldo started off more as a winger. It was much later that he got converted into this striker kind of a position. And even today with Valencia, Ashley Young, Nani, I would have thought their job was to kind of put in more crosses into the box so that they allow the lead striker to kind of get onto the end of it.
Yeah, and I'm laughing because thank God they didn't do a great job of it. Otherwise, we would have lost the season. So it seems, I mean, I don't know, Sir Alex got a lot of flack for playing the diamond formation and not playing with wingers. And now I get this feeling that he was forced to go into diamond because he probably So the fact of the matter is, no matter how selfish it sounds, it seems United do better if they take shots on target rather than cross. And that is why, Nani and Valencia have probably not done that well, because it's always frustrating for them to come for the cross. They should go for the target themselves. And that would be the lesser crosses work better for United. Now, I don't know with that in mind whether the winger strategy really works. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, and so an interesting point which you brought about United always relying on counterattacks, and I think everybody knows that everybody considers rather United as the best counterattacking side in England, and which is which also brings up this another perspective of how they are different from some of these well, not some of these, the similarity which they have with the Mourinho team, because I think Real Madrid is also, at least seasons when they were trying to beat Barcelona, they relied heavily on the counter-attacking football. Unlike Barcelona, which likes to keep the ball, so they it's not about counter-attacking. It's about keeping the ball and trying to constantly probe and find that killer pass, which will allow either a Messi or a or even a who's that third striker, David Villa, sometimes, right? Allow them to kind of get a shot on the goal. But so I think if Mourinho continues with counter-attacking football, which he had at Real Madrid, going into the season with Chelsea as well, it's going to be interesting, right? And I think the second game when United and Chelsea meet up against each other, and it will be a very very similar style in how these teams play. And of course, provided, I mean, right now we don't know whether David Moyes is going to continue with that style or not. But certainly Fergie, as you believe more in the counter-attacking football. And I think given the players which also Chelsea has signed this season, and I'm specifically pointing to Andre Schürrle, who I believe is actually going to play as one of the wingers in a 3-3 system, which I think Mourinho prefers a lot. Although he didn't do that at Real Madrid, but I think part of the problem there was Ronaldo, and given how superior he was, he always had to fit him in, and that's why. But other than his 2 years at Real, I think Mourinho has always played a 4-3-3 with the front three, the white guys on the front three, always being these fast guys who can counter attack at speed. And I think going into the season, I think on the wings we're going to play Eden Hazard on one side, probably on the right, and Andre Schürrle on the left. And I think Mourinho will go back to the counter-attacking days, which reaped him so much success at both Inter as well as Chelsea before that, where as I said, he played 4-3-3 almost all the times. So it'll be interesting, as I said, just going into the second game of the season.
Yeah, I know. Interestingly, it seems if you do an analytics on and you try to take the goals converted from shots on target, so United have scored 80% of the goals in front of the penalty line. That means in the 16-yard box.
Mm-hmm.
80% of the goals have come inside the 16-yard box, and once United get into that zone, they score. And it
Correct.
seems the only way to stop them from scoring is to play a deep defensive line. That is, some people call it parking
Right.
the bus, and Mourinho specifically used to call it parking the plane. When you
Yeah.
keep United out of the 16-yard box, and once you keep them out of the 16-yard box, then your chances of not letting them score go very high, and that frustrates them quite a lot.
Correct.
So it seems if Mourinho has to win this season against a United side, which may or may not play according to this style,
Yeah. Correct.
then then he'll have to probably play a deep defensive line, at the same time have enough speed on the wings. And I
Yeah.
think from that perspective, playing with Hazard or playing with Schule, who are fast, who are nimble players, would
Correct.
really help the Chelsea style of play.
Yeah, and an interesting point which you brought up, which said that 80% of United goals are scored, within the D, as we say. And so it brings me back to the point I think which we discussed last time, that United are a little short of these goal scoring midfielders who can score from outside the box. I think the last one which you had was obviously Paul Scholes, but with him having retired, and I think even I think over the last couple of seasons, Paul Scholes was never the same player which we knew, and I think that is why this great push towards signing Thiago, because I think he is certainly one player who will. I think he's very interesting in the couple of manners in which I think he can help United. One, I think being brought up in the Barcelona style of play, he's a brilliant passer of the ball. I think be it short, be it long, he can see a pass. He can have those through balls to the strikers, and he's got a pretty good shot on himself, right? I think he in the under 21 European Championship, which just
Right.
finished,
Right.
I think he scored a hat trick in the final. So I think he is that kind of a goal scoring midfielder, which will add another dimension to United, and I think it can only be beneficial to United.
Yeah, I think so. But listen to this. If you believe the stats from Opta, then it
Hmm.
seems the more shots you have on target is has a positive correlation to where you finish in the Premier League, which is very interesting. So the more shots you have on target, the higher you finish. From that
Hmm.
perspective, the only team that defies that logic is United because they didn't have the highest shots on target, and but they finished on top of the Premier League. But coming to the long range shooting, you always forget we had one gentleman by the name of Darren Gibson, who was famous for long range inaccurate shooting, and I think so. Now he plays for Everton, which is funny,
Yeah.
and they love him there. So the logic
Right.
is, I don't think United's style of play is really suited to the long range shots. They would rather pass, and get into the 16-yard box and shoot from there because that
Hmm.
gives them the highest chance. But if
Hmm.
stats are to be believed, then the wingers are better off going for goal themselves than crossing it to somebody like Rooney or Van Persie in the center. And just to pay attention, I said Rooney, so Rooney stays.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that's what you're hoping for. So interesting. I think getting back to Rooney, I think in the first press conference which David Moyes had, he clearly said that we're not going to sell Rooney. But what was interesting was that he was specifically asked a question that has Rooney said that he wants to stay at this club, and he did not answer that. So I think that still makes me believe that all is not well. United may not end up selling him. I think they might kind of keep him for one more year before his contract runs down to the last year and then sell him. And I believe that they will not sell him this season. But that doesn't really mean I think that Rooney is going to be pretty happy staying at United. I think they'll probably force him to stay.
Yeah, it's possible, but I think David Moyes handled the press conference very well.
Yep.
He used a lot of terms which are very positive, like we and United, and Manchester United that has success tattooed over its chest, and I plan to keep it there. And he said,
Correct.
"I'm hungry for trophies, and that's how I'm going to play." But having said all that,
Yep.
handling Wayne Rooney is going to be a challenge for him. Let's not forget he's a devil of Moyes' creation. Moyes found him, brought him to Everton,
Yep.
and
Exactly.
then and now so it's something like it sounds like a philosophy of karma, right? I mean, cycle of life. But
Correct.
luckily for Moyes, he doesn't have to depend on Rooney too much for goals. And with Thiago coming in, and with Van Persie still firing and Chicharito, I
Hmm.
think we are pretty much okay on that front. So Rooney will have to fight for his place in the United lineup. He has already lost a lot of fan support. Honestly, I've been hearing comments like, "Yeah, he wants to go, let him go." I mean, how many times will he say, "I
Yeah.
want to go"? So there is a lot
Correct.
of buzz around the fans, but I don't think they want to see him go. And I think the only person Rooney has to prove something to is himself. And can he do a one better than Van Persie? And that's what he should find out in the next season.
Correct, and I think you're right because I think I was reading somewhere in BBC today that Rooney actually, and these are of course unconfirmed reports, but it said that Rooney fears that United fans will go against him. I think they're likely to boo him every time he touches the ball, and so it's an interesting one because I'm not sure. Do you actually keep an unhappy player at a club given that as a result his motivation levels might go down and the fact is that today you might be able to get about anywhere between 20 to 25 million for him, but a year down the line when his contract only has a year left on him, and the fact that he will be 29 by that time, you probably might not get more than let's say 10 to 12 million. So it's an interesting one, but let me ask you something. So given a situation where everybody is fit, do you think Rooney walks into the first 11 at United?
Absolutely, any day. Any day. I mean, who else is better than him? Van Persie is good as a striker, but Chicharito is a sub. He's a sub. I don't know if you would label him as a full-time player, like what Rooney is. Rooney can play from the midfield. Rooney can lead from defense into attack. He's one of those. He's an all-pitch player. He can play at any part of the pitch: first half, middle half, and the third half. And let's not forget. United goals are created. I'm saying created, though they may be scored from the 16 half box. But United wins matches easily if they dominate the middle half of the pitch. That is where
Correct.
United struggles are today. And Sir Alex was hoping to fit Rooney into that position and play the Paul Scholes role, or the role played by Roy Keane before him. But
Correct.
clearly, Rooney's not interested in playing that role, and he says he's a striker. So
Yeah.
there seems to be a conflict of opinion as well between two individuals, one who wants to play to his strengths and another one who wanted to probably play to where the club needed him the most.
Correct.
But any day Rooney can be in the first team, 100%.
All right, so that's an interesting one because yeah, I mean, I think given if United plays, and I really don't know because I think we'll have to watch a few preseason games to get an understanding of what formation does David Moyes prefer, be it a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-3-1. I'm assuming he's going to pick one out of these three. I'm
Right.
sure he's not going to go radical 3-5-2 like Mancini tried.
No,
Uh,
no.
but even I believe that if he's fit, he certainly walks into the United team, and I think more so because Chicharito is actually in a way similar to Van Persie, right? Because he actually likes leading the line, and so both of them actually like to be like the last man in front of the defenses. Whereas Rooney can actually play as a second striker or just behind Van
Right.
Persie, where he can either score or he can provide those assists or the final passes, which Van Persie can then go ahead and convert. And but yeah, I mean, as I said, I would be really interested in knowing whether his mind is in the right place, and I think we will come to know of that as soon as the preseason begins, which is I think going to be in about a week's time when United is going to uh, Asia. I think right, they're coming down to
Yeah.
Asia
Bangkok.
to play in correct Thailand and Malaysia and all those places, and that'll give us a good clue in terms of both the formation as well as the way Rooney's thinking right now. So.
Yeah, the last thing about Rooney is you were right. Chicharito as well as Van Persie, they're poachers essentially.
Correct.
They're playing the 16-yard box and they strike on impulse. Rooney is a more complete player. He can play in defense. He can play at midfield. He can play up front. He can take
Yeah.
corners. He can take free kicks. I was saying he's a more complete player.
Correct.
And but I would be interested in getting your thoughts on how do you deal with your Spanish problem and who do you see leading the strike for Chelsea? I mean, you
Well,
still have a Spanish problem, don't you?
oh yes, it's a big problem, and I think I was just reading about an hour back before we started this that it looks like Cavani is certainly going to PSG.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
My
yeah, I think.
sympathies. My sympathies.
And it said I think PSG offered about 58 million euros, and although Napoli has not done a deal at this stage, they expect a full 63 million euros of buyout clause. PSG has shown an indication that they would go even further than 58. And from all the reports which I've been reading through some of the journalists who are closely associated with Italy and with France, it certainly looks like as Chelsea has dropped out of the race, and that, to be honest, I really have no idea who we're going to get now, because I think there were about 3 or 4 key strikers which I'm assuming Chelsea had in their minds. One has joined Monaco in Falcao, who's gone to
Falcao.
Monaco.
Yeah.
If Lewandowski decides not to leave Dortmund for any other club but Bayern Munich, so that will mean he will play one more season at Dortmund this time before his contract runs out, and then he's free to join Bayern Munich. Um, the third one was Cavani, who, as I said, is now probably in all likelihood going to PSG. And I think these were the top three, which I'm assuming Chelsea were keeping in mind. I think after that there are these host of strikers, but even I'm not very convinced about any of them. I think all of these were backup options who would probably be a gamble, right? Be it an Edin Dzeko or Steven Jovetic, or a Mario Gomez. Interestingly, there were some reports linking us with Zlatan Ibrahimovic today morning,
Yeah, I
given
read
that
those.
PSG is signing Cavani and they might be kind of willing to let Zlatan go. But the problem with Zlatan is that although I think he's a great striker and he's guaranteeing you goals, his age and his wages I think might probably go against him from Chelsea signing him. And so, as I said, I really have Wayne. Well, I thought actually Wayne Rooney might work out well for us if we're that desperate. But if
Could be
United
you're
is not,
getting him.
but if United is not willing to sell him, then as I said, I really have no idea. I think we might actually end up with a Lukaku and a Torres. And in that case, I mean, I think Mourinho will prefer Lukaku to play as a as a lead striker. Um, Again, I think I'm waiting for the preseason, which starts in about 2 weeks' time for Chelsea, when they travel to Asia again, to understand a little more about the kind of style, the formations, and the players which he prefers. But as I said, I honestly don't know now who we might end up getting, and I really don't even have a name that I would say, all right, this is the guy that I want to play the striker for Chelsea.
I can see your pain. But you know what? I think whoever comes for Chelsea has his task cut out. As we
Yeah,
said in the previous podcast and the episode one, this is going to be a tough season.
right,
With Moyes, with Pellegrini, with Arsene Wenger spending big, and Higuain is definitely on board in Arsenal,
correct.
and United in top form. I think Mourinho has a lot to prove here. He's not coming off the best of relations from Real Madrid, and
Yep,
Chelsea fans love him because he won. Let's not forget that,
correct, correct.
special or happy, he was winning.
Yeah, winning,
But
absolutely.
if he doesn't win the next season, then he has a problem, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I think Abramovich has given him a couple of years, because I think I was reading the interview, which he gave, I think a day later, when he officially was unveiled to the press, and he said that he doesn't expect to win the league in the first season, but he has promised Chelsea fans that we will win the league in 2 seasons, which means between this and the next, we will certainly have one Premier League title for ourselves. And I mean, I don't know. Now I'm thinking he might have said that given the fact that we don't have any strikers this season.
Yeah, I know. That's a very smart thing to do because he probably would have realized that there's nobody to strike, and if the second team in the Premier League was 20 goals behind the leader, and you were behind that second team, then you know
Correct.
how bad your situation is. So
Yeah, yeah.
this league cannot be won defensively; it has to be won on offense, and all the stats which we shared about United goals in the earlier part of this podcast, that gives a good
Yep.
idea of how important that stat is to the United planning team, right? So
Correct.
I think Mourinho would have something similar, and he knows his task, and he knows he needs a striker, and probably that's why maybe he's waiting for the December transfer window. You're never sure.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
that's his plan.
Correct. I think you're right. I think he will wait. Worst case scenario, I don't think he will have a choice but to wait till December. But I mean, again, I really don't know who in December will be available, because there are now reports linking us to everybody. Luis Suarez. I mean, for God's sake, I really don't think we need, we need a
You want
Suarez.
even
No, no, no. He
you
might
want
end up biting my player.
so that's the way to win the League Cup.
And so we'll see. We'll see. I think it'll be an interesting season. So I think with that we're going to wrap up. Before we come out next time, hopefully there'll be a few more signings. For both United, Chelsea, and I think we should probably cover both Arsenal and City next time. Yeah, I think we've talked in the first 2 episodes enough about both United as well as Chelsea. So before we wrap up, Vikram, just one. Who's your pick for the Wimbledon final today?
I'll go which.
Okay, so then just so that we can keep the banter going, I'm going to go with the Scotsman today.
Okay, good luck to you then.
All right then. Thanks a lot, Vikram.
All right, bye.
Bye bye.